Welcome to Shad's Guitar Show. Whether it's the gear or the players who made the gear famous, this podcast is about all things guitar. Well, hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome into Shad's Guitar Show. Thank you for joining me for another episode. Glad to have you with me. And today I want to get into the topic of getting caught in the what if gear game. What if this sounds better than what I have? What if I got that and then my tone was perfect? And then once you have that, saying, well, I don't know, what if this would sound better? And we've all gotten caught up in that, right? It's very common for those of us who are, severe gear nerds. We get caught up in the fear of missing out on the latest and greatest new thing. And so today I kind of wanted to touch on that and see if there's some ways that we can, sort of balance out our search for new gear with contentment for the things we already have. All right, so I want to go back about 10 years in my guitar playing history when I really started getting the gear bug, where I was like obsessed with trying all the latest and greatest things. At that time, I was using a big pedal board. I had lots of pedals, and, I was constantly on the hunt for the best overdrive pedal and the best sounding delay and all the things that we all search for, right? You guys have probably been down the same road. You may still be on that road. I've been fortunate enough to at least get off that road, periodically for an extended bit of time, and sort of found a balance now, which is really great. And I'm going to try to help you achieve that same balance if that's something you want to do. Now, some people are out there and like, I don't care. I want to try every pedal that comes out. I want to experience them all. And if that's you, that's awesome. No harm, no foul. But if you kind of feel like, man, I spend so much time looking at gear that I feel like I don't even play guitar, I'm going to try to help you. So going back to the quest that I was on, about 10 years ago, I was always buying new pedals. My pedal board was constantly in flux. There was always a new pedal coming. There was always one that I sold that I was shipping out. And it was just kind of like this revolving door of different pedals that were going on my board. So at some point, I decided to make the move to modeling profiling technology, right? So I started out with a Line 6 Helix, and I liked it. It was really good. I got some good tones, and it sort of eliminated my quest for pedals, which is kind of cool. But then I started getting, into this whole like modeling profiling thing, like, well, maybe the Helix isn't the best. Maybe I want the Fractal, or maybe I want, the Kemper, or, whatever. At that time, those were really the ones that were out there. So I had a pretty good, dialed in sound with my Helix, but then I ended up making the move to Kemper. And ultimately, for me, it was a good move, and I'm glad I did it. And I'm still, 7+ years later, I'm still using the Kemper platform for all of my live playing. And, I'm really satisfied with the sounds I'm getting. But, I've still fallen victim over the years to that new thing that's come out. For instance, when the Fractal FM9 came out, I had a lot of friends who were using other platforms switch to that, and they were all badgering me like crazy, like, this is the greatest sounding thing ever. You absolutely have to get one. It's so great, it's so great, it's so great. And I was tempted, I'll be honest, I was tempted to, say, okay, let me get one and see. And I guess there would have been nothing wrong with that. But like maybe some of you, I can't afford to have like multiple platforms of things. And at that point, I would have had to probably sell my Kemper to get the FM9. And I started, I was kind of close to doing it. But then I kind of reeled myself in and said, well, wait a second. what is it that you don't like about your current sound with the Kemper? I mean, is there something lacking? Is there something that when you hear it, you say, man, it's just not quite there. I wish it sounded better. And my answer to that was no. I loved my tones. I loved all the sounds I had dialed in. I had gotten some really great profiles from Tone Junkies. I had this AC100 profile that was just amazing, and I still use it to this day. It's my favorite profile. And so I started thinking to myself, like, how much better could it be? And what if it's not? But that what if mentality, that, well, maybe kind of thing that we fall victim to could have led me to make a poor decision. Because as time's gone on and I've heard people that are using the Fractal and had a little bit of experience with it myself, just getting to play it, not in depth, I'll say that to be fair, but just, playing around with it, using it, when other people have had it that I've gigged with, it's great. But I don't find that there's anything I'm hearing that sounds better to me than my Kemper. And it would have meant basically spending more money, having to learn a whole new platform and dive into something that ultimately would not have netted me, a greater result than what I already had. I kind of went down the same road with the Quad Cortex. Now, I was kind of intrigued by that. And fortunately, I have a friend who works for Neural, and we were able to work out a trade kind of thing. I had a guitar he wanted, and I was able to get the Quad Cortex. And again, a fantastic unit, but it did not sound better to me than my Kemper. So ultimately, I ended up selling the Quad Cortex. I wanted to really love it because it was a little smaller and really cool, but ultimately it's about the sound, right? And I could not get it to sound better than my Kemper, or really, in my mind, from what I was hearing, even as good as the tones I already have. Now, maybe if I would have spent a bunch more time diving into it, I could have gotten the tones to be as good as what I already have. But why, when I'd rather spend my time playing music, why do I want to spend my time sitting in front of, an electronic box trying to figure out how to make it sound as good as what I already have? And obviously, these are examples of modelers and profilers, but you can apply this certainly to anything. You have a guitar you really like, and it works well, and you like how it sounds and plays, and it's comfortable. But, you're on YouTube or you're on Instagram scrolling and you see that latest and greatest model from whoever it is, and you're like, oh my gosh, look at that. I mean, maybe that would be the guitar that would just take me to the next level. Or you see that new amp or that new pedal or whatever it is, and you think, well, maybe that would be the thing that would finally put all the pieces together. My tone would just be perfect, and I would achieve tonal nirvana. But you know what? If that's how you live, you're always going to be chasing the next thing, because let's face it, every time you go on Instagram, you're going to see something new and it's going to be cool. And you're going to think, what if? Maybe that's the thing that will finally get me the perfect tone, but it won't. And the next thing after that won't, because ultimately there's probably no perfect tone. And if you already really love what you're hearing when you sit down to play, you're probably best off just to stick with what you already have. Because the thing that will truly take you to the next level is actually becoming a better player, sitting down, taking some lessons, learning, growing as a player. That's going to give you way more satisfaction than just getting a new overdrive pedal that sounds maybe a little better than what you already have, or at least a little different. And it's cool. We get that dopamine rush from buying a new pedal or a new piece of gear and waiting for it to show up, and then it gets there, and it's exciting for a little bit. But if it's the gear that you're really focused on all the time, then you're just constantly going to be looking for that new rush. So let me wrap it up by saying this. Looking at gear, obsessing over gear is fun. I do it, you do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with keeping up on what's out there, what's come out from this brand or that brand, or what are the new things, what new guitars are out there. There's nothing wrong with, checking it out and being familiar and staying on top of new things. But thinking that those new things are always going to be that magic ingredient that you just have to have, I think that's dangerous and certainly expensive and counterproductive to becoming a better player. So really, check the stuff out, have fun looking at new gear. And if you see something that you really feel like, oh, you know what? That's something that I've been interested in. I've always wanted something like that, or I really feel like that could make a real difference, then maybe that's something to explore. But just assuming that every new thing that comes out is going to be that missing ingredient, that's dangerous. So find the right balance of having fun looking at gear and seeing what's out there, but also spending a lot more time sitting down with the stuff you already have that sounds great and really improving as a player. I think that is going to be the best thing that you can do. And, just food for thought. Practice is what makes perfect, not new gear, at least most of the time anyway. So if you've enjoyed this episode, please share it to a gear-obsessed friend who's maybe just gone down this rabbit hole for too long, and you're like, hey man, you need to come up, take a breath, see the light of day, and maybe just jam for a while and have fun with the stuff you have, because your tone is really great, man. You don't really need to obsess any further. Spend more time playing and less time scrolling. And while you're having that conversation with them, you can also remind them that the best guitar player is the one having the most fun.